Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show. My name is Jordan, with a silent PH in the middle, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Lucien, over there at Sir Lucien Gaming. Say hello, sir.
Hello. I love how you always say this extra special session or this special show.
Yeah. That's been a fun gimmick on Rod of Seven Parts, is I'll always be like, last week on a very special Rod of Seven Parts. And everyone always looks at me. Like the first couple times I did it, they were like, what? And now it's like, oh, he's doing that again. But it's funny. An old Clone High reference, if you remember that show from the 90s. Or, late 90s.
Date yourself.
Way back in the 1980s. It was a good show. Mm-hmm. We are a D&D talk show. We're going to talk about all things Dungeons & Dragons. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. And then we're going to talk about our home games and some other things going on. But I think there's a couple of big things happening right now, but one of them is Baldur's Gate 3. What's going on there?
I'm excited for this. September, we're almost going to get early access for those of you that are buying into it. We've been seeing lots of videos coming out. It's definitely the next kind of edition of a isometric top-down Baldur's Gate. You get to run a party of adventurers, full 5th edition rules. So I think this is the first time we're going to see 5th edition rules in electronic form. I think all the other games, well, maybe that's not necessarily true.
No, this was true.
Ones, are those all 3rd edition rules? I was wondering.
Like Neverwinter and Icewind Dale?
And Tomb of Annihilation, Candlekeep, or were those 5th edition rules? I don't know if
Tomb of Annihilation was that was not 5th edition rules. That was the board game rules that they created back in the day. And I don't know what Candlekeep is. Like, I know what it is, but there was a game called
I think there's another game. I think that's part of the name of Tomb of Annihilation, Candlekeep, because they made it off of the Candlekeep board game. But then they use the Tomb of Annihilation theme. So if you go onto Steam, you can see that that's in the name. Candlekeep is in the name of the Tomb of Annihilation one.
Gotcha.
And so I remember getting that one. Yeah, there's a Tales from the Sword Coast, but that felt like it was 3rd edition rules.
No, that was its own special rules. It had 5th edition names and warlocks and Eldritch Blast and things like that, but it was not 5th edition rules. And so it was a video game, and they just made their own video game, and that's fine, but like I feel like that was marketed as a 5th edition rule set, and it just wasn't. And I did not have, and it was buggy. I just did not have much fun with it.
Yeah. Now feel like Baldur's Gate is. Yeah.
Baldur's Gate, no, it is. They in the demos they've said like, hey, you're doing sneak checks and you're doing this. Mm-hmm. So I think it very much is now, and it's turn-based, I believe. Yeah, you pause the time like Neverwinter Nights was and Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. But those were the old
Divinity
things.
Sin, Divinity Sin, something like
that. Divinity Original Sin 2, something like that.
It's the one everybody talks about.
A really good game from what I hear. Now, Lucien, somebody who plays a lot of games yourself.
Yeah.
Sir Lucien Gaming. Yeah. I don't play as many games as you. What is early access? Why are we marketing this? What's going on with it?
It's like the modern day version of a beta program for a computer game back in the day. Because back in the day, you'd have an alpha program, which would be just people that the company would choose. Then they might open it up to a beta, which was a closed beta, invite only. Then an open beta, if they wanted to just let people in for free to look at the game, and then they would release the game. Sometimes they decided, why don't we monetize that? We'll monetize a beta. And then you could pay to get in earlier than the actual game launches. And then it kind of morphed into, what about if we had people who really wanted to play the game? They could play an early access beta-ish version of the launch day, but they get in 1 week early, whereas everybody else gets the normal game at the normal price, and they launch a week later. So then another way to make some more money. So early access typically means they're still in some testing phase. Mm-hmm. You can buy your way in typically, although not all early accesses are buy-in. Some are free, some are not. But it's a way for some companies to monetize people coming in to test their game early. And some people want that. Like, I'll play a game if I love the franchise enough. I don't care if it's buggy. I don't care if it's not quite finished. I want in so bad. I'm willing to play through the bugginess so that I can be one of the first ones in and learning the game. So if it was like, I did it with World of Warcraft when it first came out. I bought into the beta there, or if a bunch of different games and franchises, I'm willing to pay to get in early to see, even though if it's not polished quite yet. So early access, I think on Steam, you can purchase early access, which allows you. Now, sometimes it's not always a week either. Sometimes it's only a couple of days. Sometimes it's a week. Sometimes it's more. So you have to see what the actual plan is. But they called it September 30th early access.
But September 30th early access. But but you're just paying for an unfinished game.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But you have the game later on is the idea. Now, right. Something I haven't played, but I thought this game was released because everyone was playing it on Steam, was that Untitled Goose Game.
Sure.
And then I saw a tweet that they're like, yeah, it released in September, whatever. And I'm like, what? Like, that game seems old. Like, why? What? And so that was an early release as well. Like, hey, test our game, but pay us money to test our game.
Yeah, for a year.
And now they're going to release it in actuality. Yeah. And similar to what like No Man's Sky has felt like, I think, because everyone jumped on board and they released and it was not finished. And now No Man's Sky is a pretty good game from what I hear. But that was like 2 years later it took to get the developers to stuff.
No Man's Sky was perfect.
Really?
I was always against all the people that said it wasn't finished because it was exactly what I thought we were getting. I think just so many other people had hyped it up in their own heads to what they wanted the game to be, and that game wasn't that. And so I had always loved No Man's Sky. But early access on Steam, like you said, is a perfect good example. I think also Steam allows developers to start generating money to help drive the development. So maybe they're most of the way done with the game. They can offer an early access version to get some funding in so that maybe they can hire the people they need to finish the game, finish the pieces they're at least get some of the money in before that, 5 or 6 year development time or whatever. Like you're talking about a Goose Game, they're 2 or 3 years into that development. No Man's Sky, they've been working on it for 4 or 5 years, and then the release happened. Lots of these games could be 10 years in the making or 5 years in the making. So I think it's also a way for a developer, if used not just as a money grabbing scheme, because don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people out there that use it as a money grabbing scheme. I think if it's used in the correct sense, as they're drumming up enough funding to allow players in early, but it allows them to hire the people they need to finish the game off in an expected time frame, that makes it a great game. So
in all honesty, hit my elbow, that hurt. In all honesty, Pathfinder 2 did this.
Yeah,
like they were like, hey, we've got a play test. If you want to buy it, $50, print book right here. But they also said, rules free PDF online over here. But there were a lot of people at that was my first Gen Con, and there were people buying those books by the truckload. And I was like, what? Like, it's not a finished game, but I guess if you're a collector and you like Pathfinder, it's kind of cool to be like, here's the playtest rules and here's the actual rules, like right next to it. And then to turn around a year later and just buy it again. But I don't know. I understand the collecting mentality of that. Like if there was a playtest for, D&D rules or something, it'd be kind of cool to see how it's changed back and forth and have it on your shelf, I guess.
Or,
I don't know. But
maybe the brand new Final Fantasy role-playing game is about to come out, big MMO, even bigger than the one that's still out now. And Jordan got an email that said, hey, $20 and you can be an early tester of this game. Would you like to jump in? You think, oh, wow, it'd be kind of cool to jump in early and see how this game develops and be able to play all the different characters while it's leading up to release, so that when release does happen, you're kind of already been involved in the game. You gave some feedback, maybe you made some friends, you built guilds, and you figured out the systems. And then when release day comes, you're ready to hit the ground running. There's something fun about kind of preparing for a big world game that is going to launch on September 1st. So I just want this week of, I want to learn all the little things, because when September 1st hits, I want to be hitting the ground running and, leveling up quick and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very MMO player mentality.
How long is this early access going to last for Baldur's Gate 3?
That I didn't see. I only saw...
Because people are kind of treating it like it's being released, I feel. And I'm like, but it's not, guys. So, I don't know.
Yeah, but no games.
But people are going to stream it and stuff like that, right? Like, it's going to be like, we probably have to get it and we have to stream.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, this is something that we have to do. I wasn't going to buy an early access game, but I'm like, I guess I have to now. Otherwise, I'm going to be left in the Twitch dust. Nobody will watch me stream.
Throwing in for us because he wants to play it pretty much too. My Australian Dungeon Master. He's saying that they've said only a small part of Act 1 will be available during early access. So it will be a chance to probably stress test the game. It'll be a chance to buy in a little bit early, but it won't be like you get to play the whole thing until the real launch comes out.
Well, I mean, the stress test is working because I am stressed that I don't know when the actual game's going to be released.
Yeah. But there's so many classes. I'm good with that because that way I can just play either. Because I'd love to know, what is it like to play like a barbarian? What's it like to play a fighter? What's it like to play a wizard? What's it like to play the bard? And if I'm not trying to beat the game, I know it's only limited. Maybe it's half of a first act or something. I can play through it and get in. Maybe I can get an idea of, oh, this is what it's like if I'm playing a storm cleric. You know, through that first half act. What is it like if I'm playing the totem barbarian through that first half act, you know, or whatever, or play the different combinations of classes in my party, or how many people can I get in my party? Can I get 3 or 4? Can I get companions? Can I get, you know, how does summoning and stuff work? What are the spells and how close is it to the 5th edition rules and stuff? So I'm interested. I'm definitely willing to give him my money. I'm sure just the cinematic made me want to give him my money. I'll watch that cinematic all day.
That cinematic's good. Is it like $60 though? How much is it?
I'm sure it's the full price of the game. I'm sure.
Oh yeah. But like, I don't even know what the full price of the game is.
I didn't even
how not connected I am.
I knew I'm buying it, but I just knew that I didn't even look yet.
I'm going to my Steam right now. It should be somewhere. I got a lot of games in my wish list.
My wish list is
3.
huge.
It just says coming soon.
Yeah.
I don't have a.
My guess is that September 30th is when you'll be able to go to Steam and see it and click on it, and
it's got to be like $60, right? That's a.
I'm guessing.
I mean,
most games are these days.
Yeah, that's a thing. Okay. Anyway, interesting. Another reason we bring it up is there was an interview or somebody was tweeting that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be a direct sequel to the tabletop Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. So the ramifications of that storyline is where we pick up in the game of Baldur's Gate 3, which is kind of cool. I don't think we've had that transition from tabletop like that, like a sequel, you know? And it makes me think of, there was a game called Hyperlight Drifter that was on Steam, and I think it's on various amounts of consoles. Very fun game. I liked it a lot. Those are the kind of games I usually play and enjoy, is weird pixelated ones because they're just fun. But that game universe spawned a tabletop role-playing game. And it made me think of like, okay, well, that's kind of cool if they would continue the story of Hyperlight Drifter with like a module that you could play at the table with dice. That would be kind of interesting. But I don't think that's what happened. And I don't think their Kickstarter was successful. But anyway, so that's kind of cool. Like that we're building bridges, and I don't know, kind of makes me want to reread Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus before I start playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, because usually they create the products, the tabletop products are vaguely or loosely connected to any of an electronic product or a card product or a board game product that they create or whatever. There's some familiarity, but the storylines aren't intertwining, you know, they're not, very rarely have they kind of linked both of those together. So I think it feels just like we're getting more of the Magic the Gathering campaign card set that's being released once, you know, there's a bunch of sets that get released, but one of them being tied into a D&D release book, and then a computer game being tied in directly to the end of a D&D released book. Maybe they'll get a cartoon eventually or a TV show or whatever, and maybe that starts to tie in to a book release storyline. I think they're trying to move in that direction, though slow, that those things are starting to connect more closely than just, well, we're creating lunch boxes and we're putting the D&D logo on it, and here's a D&D lunchbox, and that's cool. It's marketing. It's a thing, but it's not really anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons per se. It's just a marketing thing. Whereas this sounds like it's more tied stuff together. Like, if we somehow got Stranger Things season 5, I guess you can't because they're in the 80s, but they need to flash forward and get a book from now and take it back to their game in the past. So somehow that show tied into Dungeons and Dragons today That'd just be through the roof. Or they start showing old modules. Maybe the kids go and pick up some of the old modules from the store, and it just shows like they buy some of those crazy fun old 80s modules and just
like the White Plume Mountain, and then resell White Plume Mountain as like an individual module. That's very comic booky though. Like Captain America has his storyline and Iron Man has his storyline, and then they would come together and fight for the Avengers and the movies that Marvel put out. And so I think that maybe that's an expectation that we have now, is like we want this interconnected universe. And this is Wizards of the Coast way of doing it. And, they were working on Descent into Avernus while they're working on the story for this. So it kind of makes sense that they're like, well, we can just make it one story. Like, why not? Whether it was that thought out, who knows? But I don't think...
we know
I don't think
Baldur's Gate.
I don't think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to sell more copies... Or I should say this. I don't think Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus will start selling more copies because Baldur's Gate 3 came out. The people that want to play Baldur's Gate 3 will just play it. They're not going to be like, wow, I need to get more lore. I better buy this module and play a 2-year module with my friends. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. But I think it was just like hey, we've got this story. Let's continue this story. So
I could see somebody playing the game, computer game, loving it, happen to be walking through a store, and maybe a Baldur's Gate book is sitting in the comic book store, and they would stop to think, oh, wait, I play that game quite a bit, and maybe at least pick it up and look at it, versus any other random book title from Dungeons & Dragons might not grab their attention. But if the book that they, in a game they like to play, even though they've never even played Dungeons. Because really, the reality is, as much as we're in it, there's still millions and millions of people who have never played Dungeons & Dragons. There might be millions of people that don't even know what Dungeons & Dragons is. I think we might be getting past the point of people not knowing what it is. But, we're always getting younger people, and they're always growing older. And they grow up, and maybe they don't even know about Dungeons & Dragons, but they played the video game. And maybe that is a tie-in. I don't think it's like thousands of copies or millions of copies, but maybe you get a couple of people to say,
well, you were saying like, somebody walks by and they see it and they stop and look at it. I mean, going back,
buy it.
Going back, that's exactly why people put the D&D logo on lunchboxes, because you stop, you're like, oh, I recognize that logo, but you're not necessarily going to buy a lunchbox. So I don't see the difference there, I guess. And I was not entirely sure what point you were trying to make, but anyway.
Well, it's not a huge marketing thing, but I could see it being a name recognition tie-in, which marketing people are typically all about. They always want that name recognition versus, like you were saying, does it translate to actual copies being sold? Probably not. I don't think any of that stuff translates. But how much did Stranger Things adding in Dungeons & Dragons to their show season 1, could we figure out what that translated into for people buying books or starting Dungeons & Dragons for the first time? It felt like I saw a bunch of people ask me about Dungeons & Dragons after they watched Stranger Things. They'd never played. They'd only heard about it. And that was something that just popped up. My wife asked me about it. She'd never played. She'd never done anything. But it was in the show we were watching. And she started asking me questions a little bit, not enough to get involved or anything. But I wonder what it would have been like if we'd have known translation-wise. I don't know if you could ever tell. How many books did that sell for them? 100, 1,000.
I would say they 100% do know, because of maybe they like do. We want to make this Stranger Things D&D tie-in that they did and stuff like that. So I think specifically they very much cool. There's probably not a finite number, but like they knew enough that they're like, oh, we should do a Stranger Things comic book based on their D&D characters, which is what they're doing. So next, there was a mysterious MP3 sent out by Wizards of the Coast yesterday, on their Discord. Now, I think this was, and then all of the other marketing they did, which was on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, were like, you should go check out our Discord. There's something there. And it was an MP3 called featherandtart.mp3. I will play it for you now. Lucien will not be able to hear this, but he can play it if he wants to. So here we go. Feather and Tart. 1, 2, 3.
I'll play mine.
It's a lot of laughing. It's a lady laughing. Very fun. And sorry, you're probably still playing on your end.
No, it's not. I didn't get to play. Listen to. Go to the Discord.
Go to the Discord. I think this is they're trying to I think they're trying to grow their Discord. Not a lot of people. I saw some upsetness on the internet that they were like, why are they doing this marketing this way? This makes no sense. But I think they wanted to get, gamers use Discord. I think they wanted to, hey, join our D&D Discord so we can directly market to you, is what I think they want. Now, sleuths on the internet, who are smarter than me, started putting this together. There is laughing, and feather and tart are the casting components to a spell called Tasha's Hideous Laughter. You might be familiar with this from Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.
That's some good sleuthing.
It is good sleuthing. So, feather and tart, the casting components for Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Now, Tasha is the nickname of Natasha, who is a wizard from Greyhawk. She is an archwizard, one of the Circle of Eight from Greyhawk lore. Later on, and I don't know why, because I don't really know her history, but you bet that I will be writing a script today about this. And I'll try to get some information out, maybe Monday or Tuesday. We'll see. She took the name Igwilv. Iggwilv. Now, Igwilv is the same lady, Natasha, Tasha, or Igwilv. She was a prominent demonologist. And she wrote, just like, fictional characters, like Mordenkainen wrote the other one that we had. But she wrote the Demonomicon of Igwilv, which is a physical book that you can buy. And I think it's also an in-game book. Yeah, it's an artifact that you can get. But 3rd edition, maybe 2nd edition, they made this. And a lot of people reference this book, like how to summon demons, how to control them, in other books and things like that. So kind of interesting. It was full of spells and rituals and contained information about demon lords and stuff. Apparently, Igwilv dated Grisat a little bit for a little while. He's a devil that became a demon lord in the Abyss. I've got a video on him if you're interested. So the new book, like we've always been speculating about this new book, that we're doing all the playtesting for and all the other stuff, where this November release, Wizards of the Coast have always had a release in November. A lot of people are thinking it's now going to be Igwilv's something of something. Just like Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, it will be Igwilv's Demonomicon of Planar Entities or something. You don't like the name? Is that what you said?
God, that's such a tough one to market a book on, don't you think?
Maybe it'll be Tasha. It might be Tasha's.
I could see Natasha,
something or other.
Tasha, yeah.
And they might go with Tasha just because of Tasha's Hideous Laughter. But apparently she goes by Igwilv now, so I don't know. So thank you, Internet Sleuths. Very interesting. I found this out this morning. I knew Feather, and then the internet put it together for me, and I'm like, that's awesome. So yeah, November release. I read one article that was saying, we got to focus on subclasses, but not just subclasses like planner subclasses. So they think it's going to be a manual of the planes. 5th edition has not had a quote manual of the planes yet. And so
Jordan's been hoping every guess for a new book is always manual of the planes.
Well, they keep saying. But November's huge to release a book because they want all those Christmas sales and things like that. So the variant rules, a lot, Player's Handbook 2. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Igwilv's Manual of the Planes. So
right.
We'll see. Time will tell. Apparently there will be. I'm making Lucien cry. He's so upset. I'm making
allergies.
They will be making an announcement Monday, is the speculation. So perhaps Monday we will be getting some information on whatever this tarty laughing MP3 is that came out.
And it wouldn't be the first Greyhawk Wizard crossover, because we had Mordenkainen.
Circle of Eight.
So so that's interesting that they brought a few more over into their multiverse, which is pretty cool.
I think most of the Circle of Eight have, once Greyhawk was like, hey, this is part of a bigger expanded universe, They've been doing, I don't know. I've been reading up on the planes, specifically Planescape and Spelljammer lately, because it's really interesting how they made that decision of like, we want all the worlds to connect in some way, but gods, and gods are the weird ones, right? Where you think you're an omnipotent god, but the gods will be just Greyhawk gods, or these gods will be just, Forgotten Realms gods.
Yeah, their sphere of influence.
Yeah. Yet these arch wizards go everywhere. A Serac
right.
from, Vecna, from Greyhawk, but they'll go anywhere and everywhere. And so they're more present and omnipotent in the world and the planes. And just looking at Igwilv's Forgotten Realms page, it says that she's got mansions on the material plane, the abyss, Hades. Like, she's got little, locations all over that she, summers in Hades, but winters in the Forgotten Realms or something. So who knows? It's interesting.
Yeah, I love it because I still love Greyhawk. I still have I was just reading one of my books, the Gary Gygax book, because he creates the next game he creates after Dungeons and Dragons when he leaves TSR is that Dangerous Journeys box set down there, right there. Ooh. And in the foreword of that thing, it gives a little history about what Gary was thinking. And it talks about his Greyhawk campaign that he had been talked into putting his campaign world into the games that they could sell modules, which was Greyhawk, but he always kept some things back. And he never told the whole story because he was always worried that the game he had been running for 10 years, that his players would know about the stuff that was in the game. So he always had kind of what he called it, almost like a retail version of his campaign world, even though he was still running the real campaign that was the Greyhawk campaign off of that. And one of the things they talked about in that is Gary's original idea. I didn't know this. I was just reading it yesterday. Is the D&D world that he created, Greyhawk, is actually an analog of our world, and Greyhawk is right near Northern Illinois. But he never put that in. He never put that in the modules that they were selling in TSR because they made it more homogenized and more, just more base. Anybody could use it. Nobody ever said it was supposed to be based on our world. But in his campaign where he developed Greyhawk and truly ran Greyhawk, it was an alternate reality of our world. So that made it really interesting. And they talk a little bit more about that in the book. And then it goes on to say now he wanted to make this new game and how he's going to do it. And in the game he makes, they call it Earth, AERTH is the campaign world he builds. And it has maps of basically the globe, but everything's different. The land masses are the same, but all the other stuff is fantasy based and magic based and different because that's the world he wanted to build. So I thought that was really interesting to just read back on something like that. And I totally had forgotten, that there's a whole nother game he had even built on. So we have more information coming about the Greyhawk and then leading into Forgotten Realms and such. So
yeah, I wonder.
Very interesting.
It's got to be because of Drizzt, but that's why did they just abandon, not abandon, but like you can still play in Greyhawk, but they just kind of were like, oh, bye Greyhawk. And 4th edition is its own thing. 3rd edition is also kind of its own thing. But like when Wizards got a hold of it, they were just like, we're going to really push this Forgotten Realms thing, especially, excuse me, with 5th edition. And maybe it's because of the video games, Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter. A lot of people got into D&D through those. And there weren't Greyhawk games that I am aware of. Even way back, like Pool of Radiance, I think that was a Forgotten Realms game. So I don't know, but it's interesting because there's a lot in Greyhawk, and a lot of stuff is these wizards have created Greyhawk, or they are foundational names for D&D, yet we don't have Elminster's magic staff spell. You have Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion. So.
I suspect if we did the sleuthing, we would find out more about the darker side of Gary Gygax and his relationship with TSR and the breaking up, and then the infighting that happened, and then the group who decided they didn't want anything to do with Gary at all and forced a complete shift from anything that Gary had created on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't like a great shake your hands and we'll all go our own way and we'll all be happy friends afterwards. As far as I could tell, it felt like it was a very nasty breakup of a company and a creator and not being happy. And it would be similar. I think we would see the same thing happen if all of a sudden Keith Baker had a terrible falling out with Wizards of the Coast. Then all of a sudden, what happens to Eberron if their relationship
we're not going to support Eberron
damaged? Yeah. So I think that's kind of some of it. I think maybe it's new creators coming in wanting to build their thing. You know, the other creator got to build his thing. That creator's gone now. I'm the creator there. Do I get to build my thing? Maybe that's part of it. I wonder if a lot of that all mixes together to see the shift in the worlds. And maybe I think there's probably other things, like maybe Greyhawk was too gritty, or they wanted more high magic. So then it was another good reason to maybe switch. Or like you said, an author came in and they wanted to tell a really good story. And now, we have a big time author that wants to write. Maybe that's going to help a little bit, so I bet there's not just one factor, but I bet it's just a mix of those.
No, you're probably right. Because Ed Greenwood, although doesn't own the realms anymore, he still loves it. And he talks about the Forgotten Realms and things like that. So he's invested in it. Sure. Whereas it's like, who created the realms? Or who created Greyhawk? Gary Gygax. And he's like, yeah, screw those people. I hate what they did with my world. And it's like, well. So whereas, like Ed loves that you play your games in the Forgotten Realms. Like he loves that. Like he's all about it. So, yeah, you're probably right. That's probably like just the direction they're going, is like, we have somebody who actively will promote our product. Let's do that. So I don't know. There you go.
Yeah. And he goes on to be a competitor too. So I think that's another thing. Like, it's this idea of not only am I out,
they still have
I'm going to start building a company that's going to take you on, and I'm the creator of what you have, and I'm going to come. That whole thing generates into that, and I think that's just a crazy part of it.
No, I am the creator. You merely lived in the darkness.
That's great.
All right. So we're gonna have a new book. It's gonna be something.
Well, I wanted Elminster's book. That was my little note on there. I wanted Elminster's book because Elminster was the wizard I remembered growing up thinking about. I didn't know the names of Mordekainen, barely knew Vecna, maybe had heard of a few of the others, but Elminster was
you're even saying it wrong, so that's funny. Elminster.
Sure. That's how I always read it, though. I mean, I want that book, and I'm always going to say it's my world, Jordan. They told me it could be my world.
Everybody, we need to pause the show. Indoor Adventurer is here, and he's late, so shame him. Shame.
What? Everybody in chat, shame.
I'm gonna, if I could send that GIF of the Game of Thrones shame bells, lady, I would. Shaming you. No, that's so we're getting a book. What would you call Elminster's book, though? Elminster's I'm trying to think of what is Beard. Elminster's Beard of Niceties.
He's the most powerful wizard, though, right?
He's up there, but I don't know if he's the most powerful.
Hasn't Greenwood always kind of? I mean, he's bumbling around and he's doing stuff. But in reality, his power is on par of he is the gray wizard or the white wizard. He is the Gandalf of Forgotten Realms. Are you disagreeing?
Well, no, I'm not. I'm just saying Ed Greenwood, he dresses up like Elminster. It is his way of putting himself in the Forgotten Realms. And if you do that, you are all of a sudden he can't be killed and he can't be this. So, and I've read Elminster books. I do not particularly enjoy them, but
I loved it. Loved them. Danimal gave us a good one. Elminster's, Eldritch, Enkaideron.
Oh, see?
Enkiridion.
Why don't you have a
hate that word
podcast? You're way better, Danimal.
Danimal's good. He's a great guy. DM too.
Great DM. Then there was a Lore You Should Know. I did not watch this because I just don't have time, but what was it on?
Yeah. Well, and I only watched just the first part of it. You definitely want to go check it out on the D&D channel. It was the only thing I saw that wasn't a streaming game. They've got a lot of streaming games going on if you're interested in that. But it was Clothis, which is part of the Theros Pantheon. And they were filling in some more information about how unique Theros is and the way the gods and the heavens and the things are connected. And it's done a little differently. You can read up on the Nyx, which apparently is like the sky above, that looks like blackness and stars in it, but it's not really that. And it's got an interesting twist to it. So any of you lore junkies that are looking for some good stuff on Theros, you might definitely listen into that one because it sounded pretty cool. And you got to see one of the other creators that we don't see on the channel very often, Ari Levitch or something like that. Sorry about the name. But it's cool to see another one of the, creators talking about a piece that they'd created for this book, which I think, and it's still, Theros has got to be one of the top books of 2020. I feel it's a great book. I love reading through it.
I liked it. I guess I go back to like, I don't think I'd run a Theros game, and I don't think I would run a Ravnica game. But like the Magic the Gathering settings they've put out, I've just kind of been like, but so they are well done books. Like I liked reading the Ravnica book. I really enjoyed that. And I liked reading the Theros book. I actually found a DMsGuild supplement that does the exact same thing with the gods in Theros, but with the Forgotten Realms. And I had a lot of interest in that because I was like, I could be a rogue that follows the god Mask of Thieves, and I could get cool mask abilities at certain pious levels or whatever, piety, So I liked that as a thing, but I would much rather just play Greek mythology because I'm just not as invested in this Magic the Gathering world, The art was amazing though, but that's because Magic the Gathering card art is amazing, and they use 90% of that.
So if that's not your book of 2020 for D&D release, what is your book of 2020?
Probably this November book that's going to come out. Although I'm very excited for Icewind Dale. I'm very excited for Icewind Dale.
Icewind Dale looks cool. I could change my mind. I definitely could change my mind.
I think I want to run Icewind Dale online.
Frozen cities in the cliff, that's still good stuff.
Yeah, we can't wrap up Rod of Seven Parts by September, but maybe by October, and then I could just be like, you guys want to play some Icewind Dale? Yeah. Bringing us all around our favorite part of the show, Bardic Inspiration. Oh man, so exciting. Here we are, August 22nd, mere weeks away from Icewind Dale. And Lucien here is talking about Forgotten Realms. And he's confused. What's going on? What is your Bardic Inspiration, sir?
Well, yeah. Get the pitchforks ready here, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm ready.
If this is true...
It's not like anybody runs a channel on the Forgotten Realms.
It's called Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, where did it go?
Read in the beginning, I think it is of the Dungeon Master's Guide, when it talks a little bit about the campaign setting world of Forgotten Realms. What does it emphasize that is Forgotten Realms? What does it say that makes it the world got run? And it's in the title, spoiler.
You're asking me.
Yes, in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
A specific page of the Dungeon Master's Guide. What is it? I do not have it all memorized, Lucien.
The guy who runs Forgotten Realms Explained.
Don't have the DMG memorized. I'm sorry.
Well, as I recall, paraphrasing, not word for word, they talk about that it's a world of forgotten realms that are built upon each other century after century, millennia after millennia. And there's thousands of empires that have risen and fallen. And that's why they call it the Forgotten Realms, because of all of these buried and huge empires and things that had spanned this world and are just waiting to be found, right? Or just below the surface, or just waiting to be rediscovered in this crazy world. Have we had a book that's talked about any forgotten realm in Faerun?
Yeah.
We've only talked about the current. Right, there you go. That's where I was going.
Yeah,
I mean, we call it the current realms.
No. Well, yeah. The remembered realms.
The remembered realms.
No, the idea is that, realms. You go to Waterdeep, and I think the idea is that you're just digging. Like, I'm going to go to Waterdeep. Oh, look, hatch to a sewer. Oh, this goes a lot further than I thought. Oh, there's a city down here. Oh, there's like an ancient this. That, underneath the ground, underneath the sand of time, there's been ancient civilizations, which is true. You had the Saruk and the Batrachi, and a bunch of other really interesting, weird, amphibious snake races that ruled all of Faerun back in the day. And now it is it is man's turn and elves and stuff and things like that. So.
And you notice there are no realms right now. There's almost no actual kingdoms, no actual large landmass things that you would even consider a realm. Like
what is a realm then? I should Google it.
I would think a realm would be like when you have, Game of Thrones sized factions, or the kingdom of this fights the kingdom of that. Not just city states is what we kind of have now. Everything in Forgotten Realms is very small, not kingdom based. It's kind of a loose faction of people that work together, but nobody's come in and actually made themselves duke or king or emperor or lich king or walking god of, whatever, like we supposedly had in the past of Forgotten Realms, when they talk about the Forgotten Realms and they talk about these great spanning empires.
Yeah.
Yet we live in a time that has none of that, and it's all buried. And the only books we get that help us as a dungeon master to run adventures are in these smaller little places, and don't really talk about diving into these great realm spanning, kingdom spanning, empire spanning history of Forgotten Realms.
So the Sword Coast, very much city states, like you were saying. Waterdeep and Neverwinter, and they all kind of work to not things. No, now is a kingdom. Is not a city. Athkatla is the capital of Tithir, not a city. That is a kingdom. Kalimshan, also that. Kalimport in Kalimshan. So I think you were wrong.
I like it's good.
The
so
Shar,
what was the book?
Chahandath, Chesenta, Termish, Cormir, Sembia, Narfel. I'm looking at a map. I could go all day. Aglaron.
What's my module I can play there?
Faye. What module can you play there? None.
Yeah, 5th edition.
Well,
that they just
Chult
released?
maybe. So
Cholta Kingdom.
Chult is not a kingdom. It's a peninsula. It's a region.
But most people think it's an island. But
it used to be an island back in the day. But I don't know. Yeah, there's not like Lantan. That's a kingdom. So I don't know. Oh, actually, here you go. Icewind Dale. That is a kingdom up there in the north.
It's a city too, right?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just a big kingdom.
I thought there was an Icewind Dale city.
No, there's 10 towns in Icewind Dale, Mirabar.
Well, the
Luskin.
Dales. You do have the Dales.
But yeah, there's just kind of that. So the Silver Marsh. Anyway, so I disagree with you. We do have realms in the Forgotten Realms, but the point of the name is that they are forgotten. So perhaps,
right.
The old Netheril Empire and things like that. So I don't know. It's not really a bardic inspiration so much as let's just have an argument with Jordan.
The reason, right. I wanted to get under Jordan's skin, because if I'm right, then his channel doesn't even need to exist at this point. He needs to.
I'll delete everything.
So he's
tomorrow.
Definitely going to fight hard on it, which is good. He should.
Gosh.
And I'm being facetious when I ask it a little bit.
But
it is interesting that if you're new to this world, you're new to the genre, you don't know about 3rd edition, you haven't done your 2nd edition, your advanced Dungeons and Dragons research like us gamers have, you're pretty new to it, you wouldn't know anything about any of those Forgotten Realms, or any of those things you just named would not even be in your lexicon if you just started Dungeons and Dragons in the last 5 years, right? So it's interesting.
I feel like you're nitpicking though.
I am.
This is also something that they named the Forgotten Realms back in AD&D. Yeah. When it really was like we didn't have any idea, and then Ed Greenwood's like, actually, the Netheril lived way back here, and he started giving them all this information.
Well, it comes from two things. The whole reason I kind of brought it up, it comes from two things. Is one, the city in the ice thing that we talked about last week, because that's the adventure. When we looked at that picture, we both looked at that picture and said, that's the adventure I want to know about. Because guess what? That could be a forgotten realm that we've not heard about. And we could learn something really cool and new about the history of this place we play in. And it was exciting to think about that. And I was thinking that they're missing the boat a little bit by not doing more of those kinds of things. And then to bring it into why would I want to put this in Bardic Inspiration and not just argue with Jordan's segment, which we could have if we need to. We could argue with Jordan's segment, is Bardic Inspiration was I'm challenging us dungeon masters who love playing in Faerun, who love playing in Forgotten Realms, to come up with Forgotten Realms put them out there on the comments, put them out there in the Discord, talk about these cool ideas that we could then bring in the game and make it truly Forgotten Realms again. Make it about, there was this cool kingdom in this place and they spanned these years and these were the things they did and this was the history, and it's all buried now and it's all doesn't have anything to do with right now until our adventure party stumbles upon it once again. You know, I challenge all of you to go out there and make your own Forgotten Realm for us dungeon masters to pull into our games. So that was how I was slowly leading my way around to the Bardic Inspiration part, and just to put a little burr into
you know, it's interesting. There's two different ways you can go about this when you're running a game. And it's super, like, not even the dungeon master knows what this is, you know. It is forgotten. We don't know.
Yeah. And
the other one is there's a huge backstory that the DM knows, but like the players have to uncover. And not using Forgotten Realms as an example, Dungeon Crawl Classics, the game I love to talk about. Every one of their, not everyone, but the majority of their adventures are just like, you don't know. And they offer no explanation, but like a hole, just like a sunken, like a pit opens up in the ground. You go and investigate. All of a sudden there are temples, there are snake people, there are weird lizard attacking you.
I feel like Numenera is this way too, but yeah.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. And there's no explanation other than like, I guess it's always been there because you know, your little, thank you, Danimal. Jordan mentioned DCC, take a drink. You know your world of farming and things like that. You don't know the big, there's no Candlekeep. Now, the opposite side of that is Hot Springs Island. Fantastic OSR module. You can play it with any system. I play it with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. That is, you're on an island and you're slowly uncovering like what happened here. Like there are ancient runes, there are sludge monsters attacking me, there are weird animals, and on top of all of this history, you have modern day stuff where they're trying to get you to find money and stuff. So it's really cool. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Danimal,
that's
I will
the kind
run
of Bardic Inspiration I was looking for. That right there. That was the good stuff.
Danimal, I will run a DCC game for you and Lucien because he has also not played, and we should play a Roll20 DCC.
Do some funnel.
Do some funneling. I actually bought the virtual. Goodman Games started selling virtual tabletop bundles of maps and stuff. So if you want to play like this adventure, and I think it's like $5, you can buy and you get all this artwork and things like that. And I bought one because I was just curious. But I would, let's play some DCC. Maybe coming up. We'll schedule something. I'll talk to you. I'll have my people talk to your people.
Cool.
My Bardic Inspiration is, which I guess, we don't have a lot of time left, but I've been thinking a lot about crafting magical items. So we always have these weird magical items that are, and sometimes it's like the wand of Orcus forged from a god, and you can kind of understand like why this is such a big, powerful thing. But then you have like Ioun stones, which a wizard made, or you have other things that are like a wizard made this. And I believe earlier editions, crafting magic items costed you experience points. So if you were a wizard crafting something extremely powerful, then you physically took a hit. And it's like, yeah, you have this new magic item that does this really cool thing, but like you yourself are weaker or you have lost levels or things like that. And I wanted to like, how can we bring that to 5th edition? And that was the question I kind of wanted to ask you is like, I want a system where, I don't know, do you just permanently sacrifice 3 levels in order to make a wand of fireballs that I can hand out to other people? Now I can use that wand of fireballs, so maybe that offsets the fact that I've lost 3 levels of wizard, but I don't know, what should magic item creation come with a sacrifice?
Yeah, I mean, how do they get created in the first place? They're powerful, so there's always got to be I feel like there should be a downside to great power comes great responsibility kind of thing, or there was some great sacrifice or great monetary input or material component. I always thought the idea too would be like really hard to get material components. If you wanted to build a wand of fireballs, you had to somehow defeat a fire elemental, 10th level fire elemental, and get its essence or something.
Yeah, I like that. That there's a danger.
Some, like, tree and get some of the bark that could hold the essence of the fire elemental you killed. I always like that. The problem I keep running into with doing that idea, because I love your idea with the magic item stuff. We've talked many times about cool magic items, is it becomes something about what one character gets to do, and it's hard to do it when you have 6 people in the party. You know what I mean? Like, without it just being, we'll help our buddy out to go do his thing, but that doesn't really kind of line into the storyline that we're a rod of 7 parts. We've got 7 parts of rods to go find. Where am I going to have time to go get the treant branch, defeat the fire elemental, and this?
It's a very different game. If you're going to allow crafting like that, I think it is a very different game. You need a sandboxy game where it's like, what do you guys want to do today? Like
downtime,
and you don't have that pressing, like, we got to save the multiverse, you know? So, but I do like that, where it's like, I have to summon a demon. I have to charm it. I have to refine it into a dust that then I can merge with this liquid and put into a wand or something. Now and then that wand allows me to do X, Y, and Z. Yep, it was very dangerous to create, but there has to be a risk with magic item creation. That you could potentially get hurt, I think.
You just inspired me. I want to run a campaign where nobody levels, the experience points add up, all your abilities stay at 10, and it's only through your crafting of magic items that you can increase or gain anything new that you don't have as just a normal person. And you spend your experience points and you spend your resources and all of your adventurings about gathering stuff so that you can build your armor, your swords, and then you want more stuff and you need more money, and it's like this sinkhole of you trying to gain materials because you want more powerful stuff so that you finally can cast a fireball or you finally can shoot a lightning bolt out. But it only comes from gear. It doesn't come from abilities. There's no book you can read that makes you do it. It's all comes from the gear you build. Makes you more powerful. And then throw something.
I know. I like it. Similar game you should check out. Friend of the show, Ben, Questing Beast. He wrote a game called Knave that is exactly like that. So but I think it's about finding items. So as you're traversing, when you find armor, all of a sudden your AC goes up. When you find a magic wand, you can now cast this spell. When you find a sword, you can attack with that sword. But the equipment you're wearing is what defines your character, not I start out as a wizard and I'm not allowed to wear armor because I'm a wizard. It's I found armor, I can do that. So, but I don't know. I wonder if XP is the way to go or if health. Part of me was thinking in this endeavor of like, what's a sacrifice for magic item creation? Is do I lose hit dice? Like that's kind of I mean, you have a finite amount of them. So rather than losing levels, maybe I could like permanently injure myself by saying, well, now that I'm level 10, I made this magic item. I only have 6 hit dice. I used 4 of them to create this magic item. And in doing so, I am hindered. 5th edition, I'm not hindered that much by not having hit dice. But I don't know. It's kind of an interesting concept because then you have a finite amount of crafting that you could do. Mm-hmm. And our systems could actually merge. We could have, I have to go get the fire elemental, but at the same time, just the act of making this, you put a little bit of yourself in it. So I don't know.
Be very cool.
I don't know. I want to refine the reason I'm talking about. I have like a million ideas. We were actually just talking about having too many ideas at the beginning of this, but I want to write crafting rules that really specifically like, how can I make this? But make it, I don't know. And then there's got to be a sacrifice, and that's what I want. So but the legacy, you could be the Mordenkainen. You could be like, I made this spell called Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion, and it would go further into your games. The same thing. Jordan's Silent Sword of the PH could then be passed down, and then how much fun is that? And maybe it's just something that you have in yourself, but like how much fun is that? As while you're playing a game, you could say like, oh no, you find this sword, and somebody's like, that actually was my character made that sword like 5 years ago when we were playing. How cool that you have it right now, So it's kind of cool.
And how did that Goblin King get it?
Exactly. Goblin Kings be stealing swords left and right.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I'm inspired. I'm thinking about ways I could do it. How can I make it work?
And then there's maybe I don't know, like formulas and stuff. I'm thinking of Lord of the Rings now, and like what was
creating the rings, and then
what was Sauron's name before he became Sauron? It was like Lovitar, the King of Gifts or something. I can't remember. My Forgotten Realms lore is bad. We have 5 minutes left. Do you want to talk about a game?
Yeah, I'm playing Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Completely mapped out level 1. Mostly.
Excellent.
Ready to go down to level 2.
Excellent.
And here's the cool news of all of that. It sounds like maybe we're going to play tonight. An extra session in the week. Because normally we play on Tuesday nights, which is crazy. So I don't know. Hopefully it happens. You know how it is. Players be players. So if the schedules work out, the DM is ready to go. So if you got a ready to go DM, typically you got all you need right there.
Yeah.
But hopefully we're going to try to play tonight. And if we do, we get to go down to level 2 Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
Man, that's got to be exciting
cool.
To like map it out.
And then,
how are you Well, okay, you guys are playing on Roll20, right?
Yeah.
So mapping it out for you is just exploring, and then you have the map finished.
I have the cartographer's skill set, and that's the job I have in Ack Inc. from the Ack Inc. book.
Right.
And I have tools and materials that about every hour or so, I make my group stop and give me 10 minutes to draw the map out.
Okay.
Perfectly. And then
your character.
Danimal, my character.
Yeah, you're not
Danimal
drawing
then
physically.
Creates a second map for us that is the one I'm drawing on one of our Roll20 games, so we can go back and refer to it. And then our original Roll20 game is just Fog of War. So as we go through, we don't really see everything that's happened behind us, but we have the map that I've drawn.
Now, do they see your map, your party members, or do you have to relay that information?
We pretend like they can open it up, and we don't.
I like the idea of you're like, okay, let me look at the map. Yeah, we need to go left, guys.
Yeah, we need to go back.
No, your other left.
Yeah, that kind of happened. Like, we got to go back this way, or we think something's that way, or we looked at it and we thought, do you guys think there'd be a hidden door here kind of thing?
Yeah.
So we are doing some of that kind of stuff. And
so somebody once said you should do, like, if your players want a map, they should draw it.
Yeah.
And I tried that in a session, and it went awful. Well, like, yeah, they were all over the place, and I was like, actually, let me just fix that for you. And maybe I'm bad at giving instructions, but like, that was not good advice.
Oh, maybe they're bad at drawing maps.
So, or they're bad. I want to say it was my fault because I'm not always the clearest, but man. Anyway, that's awesome. You and Danimal playing some games. Really excited. I'm gonna have to make some. I have to get some friends and play DCC. That'd be fun. Anything else?
You got 2 minutes to tell us. Well, Revenar is going to be starting back up, but I'd rather hear about Rod of 7 Parts and a Wild Mount in these last 2 minutes. Give us the 2-minute rundown.
Rod of 7 Parts. They killed my succubus without interrogating her, so they got not zero. They didn't get any information. So they don't really know what's going on, and we're kind of in a weird session. We're not going to be able to play next Wednesday, so they have a couple weeks to figure out what they want to do. And I'm encouraging them to not... if they want to shop and stuff, I'm like, let's do that in chat. I hate shopping episodes in streamed RPGs. I don't want to hear about like how you persuaded the guy to give you a 10 gold discount. Just tell me. So we're going to go through that, but they fired everybody who was in charge of the orrery to like now super put it in charge of hopefully people they can trust. And this was something that I always try to have combat in my games. And it's interesting because my Rod of 7 Parts game had no combat that last game we played. And my Wild Mount game, we went an entire session without combat either. It just didn't come up. And we were figuring things out. There was a lot of planning. Like, we all had fun. And even my Rod of 7 Parts players, they were saying like, yeah, we had a lot of fun. But I don't know, a combat just feel like that's D&D. Like, you fight stuff. So it was weird. And it brought me back to a game I played a long time ago, and they were very proud that we had a session without combat. Like, how cool is that? And I was like, but that's the game. Like, part of it is fun. I want to fight stuff. I want to use my abilities. And I guess I just wanted to talk about that. Like, I've never had that. I've never ran a game where we didn't do combat, and then all of a sudden it happened to me 2 sessions in a row, my Wildmount game back to back with my Route of 7 Parts game. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. And all of a sudden, a sniper or an assassin falls from the ceiling. Quick, fight him. Yeah, okay, cool. Now we can get back to doing other stuff.
Is there combat on the horizon, or are you going to have a few more sessions of no combat?
No. There is combat on the horizon. And with the Wildmount game, we actually ended with, and then we'll roll initiative, and it would turn into an actual game. But like that DM, my DM Nathan, he was just like, yeah, I'm sorry guys, we didn't actually fight anything. And I'm like, like I was okay with it because I like hanging out with my friends. But yeah,
I had a Revenar session where the players are being so cautious about sneaking up on the Black Pyramid when they first found it, that I felt like we went through 2 playing sessions of 4 hours before they even would go to the door, even though I gave as many hints as possible that there was nothing on the outside that was going to attack him. They
just knock on the door already.
They didn't do it. They were just like, no, we want to look around the mountain here. We want to climb a tree.
You get a sending in your head that says, open the door. Yeah.
Okay, just go. There's nothing here, guys.
That's funny. That's funny. How true, though. Yeah. We're really cautious in Wildmount, too, I feel. Not because of the DM. We have a couple role players that are very, like, man, like, they just kind of want to... They want to talk through everything, and our group really needs a leader that's just like, we're doing this. And I don't personally feel that my character is the leader type, but there's been a couple times where I'm like, while they're talking, I go over here and drink this, or I open this door, and the DM's just like, thank you for doing an action rather than just talking about the hypothetical. And I'm like, no problem. Like,
our party started talking to a dragon, and then I shot it.
Yeah.
Just to get things going.
There you go.
Just to get moving.
Good show. This was fun. That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to bounce. Lucien is hungry. He always has to eat after this show.
I'm starving, and I got a pool to go swimming.
He's got a pool. Lots of things going on. I've got to readjust my lights and apparently write a video for Monday on Tasha. You guys are wonderful. This was really fun. I love hanging out and chatting with you guys. Please rate us on iTunes, subscribe, follow, tell your friends about the show. If you like a particular awesome show. Be back next week because we'll probably have lots of information to talk about this mysterious book that's going to get.
Heck yeah.
I think there will be. Until then, stay safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, and we will see you next week with another episode of the Saturday morning D&D show. Goodbye, everybody.